And now, it's time to break down the Cougars.
Give me everything you got right now.
This is your Cougars Daily Update with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. How about just kind of where we're at in life right now? Football, not around the corner, on top of us, all right? That's where we're at. That's how exciting it is. We, of course, have been bringing you sound from up on the hill as the Utes got underway with their fall camp. And then today is the first media availability for BYU. And Mitch Harper, our BYU insider for KSLSports.com, joins us right now. Mitch, I would assuming you're either in Provo or very close to it because it's going to get close to that media availability to be able to not just see some of the action on the field for the Cougs, but kick off, I don't know, what feels like your 100th fall camp in a row. How is it, man?
It's good. I just pulled into the parking lot here at the student-athlete building, saw the coaches and players. The gate was just wide open. You could basically just see practice.
Well, walk on in, Mitch. See what happens.
You know what? Just go over there with your
walk on in.
Yeah, get over there with your telescoping lens. I'm sure they'd be real excited about it.
Little GoPro attached to your forehead.
Yeah, just bring my signature binoculars at practice and just no. I mean, but yeah, the gate's open. They got a new field too. I noticed they installed it back in May. It's now the Zions Bank football practice facility or fields here at the student athlete building. But yeah, day one, year two in the Big 12. It's an important season for BYU as they need to find some answers in a hurry here in fall camp.
Obviously, quarterback's at the top of the list of what we're paying attention to. I'm going to throw you for a curveball here, though, before we talk about quarterback. What's the non-quarterback storyline that we should actually be more focused on other than quarterback?
The running back position. I think the running back spot's going to be really interesting. You know, there's been speculation about L.J. Martin and his health status. You know, is he going to be fully ready to go? He told me a couple weeks ago he'll be ready, but we'll see. You know, anytime that there's conversation about are you ready or not, typically err on the side of caution. So we'll see on L.J. Martin, but then it, you know, puts the spotlight on guys like, you know, Hinckley Folau-Ropati and Miles Davis and Pokayawa Honga to be factors at that running back position if Martin misses any sort of time. So that running back position is an area to monitor here in camp because BYU made the decision to not go with a transfer portal running back. So they clearly believe they've got confidence there at that spot. And I will say, you know, Kalani, to his credit, he's had a track record of doing these sort of things that on the surface you think, what's the deal here with the running back? You think back to 2020 when they lost Devontae Henry Cole out of the portal. That's a throwback name. But then they had this quiet confidence of Tyler Algier, and he became an all-timer at BYU. So there's a little bit of track record there, and we'll see if that sort of thing emerges with that running back unit here in fall camp.
Mitch, as you kind of get ready to cover this, this fall camp, and as BYU fires up, it's I don't know. We do this every year and fans will certainly get to the point where it's like it's black and white. Either it's like, oh, they're doomed, or it's oh no, they're going to be well improved. Like, what's a reality for fans to kind of understand about where this team is at, or is it just there really is a massive question mark, and you won't really know until there is a starting quarterback in place?
Yeah, I'd still think that, you know, until they get clarity on the quarterback position, there's a lot of mystery to this team. But I do believe they have, personnel-wise and with the retention that they've built up with this roster, I think they're good enough to say they're not going to be blown out at any game. I think BYU is going to be better equipped to be competitive every single week. And, you know, having a lot of your tough, at least perceived toughest opponents at home, that should put you in a position to get to the postseason. I think BYU, they're, players 23 to 85 on the scholarship count. I think it's as good as I've seen. But I think it's the top 22 is where I have real questions about BYU, compared to, say, 15 years ago. I think it's taken a little bit of a step back on that front. That's where you got to really start to establish the stars. And I don't think BYU has any stars right now. You got to have those guys, though, to succeed in the Big 12 conference because I don't know who's the bona fide all Big 12 guy outside of maybe Batty and maybe Jacob Robinson. And outside of that, I think you need more answers, particularly on the offensive side. So, BYU, I do believe, though, they are a team that's, better positioned now than to avoid those 37-7, 44-11 beatdowns that they suffered a year ago.
And we've broke down the quarterback room and who's involved ad nauseum all offseason. I'm curious, though, what do you think the time frame is going to be? How important would it be for BYU to establish who that starter is earlier in camp, or do you believe they're really going to wait until the final hour when they take snaps against Southern Illinois, or even keep it open beyond that?
I believe this could be, a game week type battle. I think it benefits BYU to name it early, and I think it, benefits the fan base to kind of say that's their guy and they're going to rally around him. But I feel like this is the type of battle where it's just you want to see every single snap, every data point that you can analyze if you're Aaron Roderick and Kalani Sitake to make sure this is right, because this decision could define jobs. And you've got to get this right. And, look, I think Kalani's made it clear coming out of Big 12 Media Day that they are comfortable with all four guys if they need to throw them in, because these quarterbacks have all started FBS games. But ideally, you'd like to get off on a right foot and have that QB1 be the clear-cut guy. And you're not second-guessing yourself and thinking, well, if you would have started that guy to begin the season, your year would have been a lot different, because the margins are thin for BYU. And you can't afford to lose a game or two with the wrong personnel and just assume you're going to make up for it with a new face at quarterback. So it's the chase to get to that 6 wins, and so every snap matters.
Mitch, what's Ben Bywater's status? That's like a name that it gets thrown out there, and I think normally when we feel like things are going in a really, really good direction when it comes to somebody's health, that we would have been, pumping up one of the better linebackers in that system in the last few years. What's his status? And I'm asking because I think that the feeling is that he's not there yet, or what are we looking at with Ben Bywater?
It's a big question, Mark. And I got to say, when I talked to Kalani at Big 12 Media Days about Ben and the commentary that Kalani gave me, it just didn't paint a positive outlook on Bywater. That he noted that it's a devastating injury and time will tell. I mean, those are the type of terms that, track record has said when Kalani says that, you might need to explore other options potentially. And I thought it was an underrated addition in the offseason after spring ball when they did get Che Bryant Strother, the younger brother to former BYU Hooper Elijah Bryant from UCLA. They brought him in, and he's going to compete at inside linebacker. You've got Harrison Taggart. He goes into his second year, former Corner Canyon High standout. I think he's built to have a really big year this season. I mentioned Che Bryant Strother. You got Cialia Serra, too, who should be good to go here for fall camp. But Bywater's, status, based on, Kalani's commentary at Big 12 Media Day and him not participating in spring, it's a big question coming into day one here at fall camp. And, I think it's one of those deals where what you've got in Ben Bywater. He's a productive guy, but ideally you'd like to see a few snaps in this practice, because still he's only had 4 games in Jay Hill's defense. He didn't have much time last year in spring in year one, so there hasn't been many snaps in operating in Jay Hill's scheme as you would think for Ben Bywater. So it'd be nice to have him in fall camp, but those shoulder injuries are really tough, and so, as Kalani said, time will tell.
The pass rush has to be better. There's no doubt about that. We've been talking about that a lot as well. As you go into camp, we know who Tyler Batty is, but who's the player or players that they really need to have step up in order for that pass rush to dominate this year?
Zay Banya, second-year transfer from Boise State, he's got to take a big step forward. I thought last year, like pretty much the entire defense and the defensive line at large, kind of underwhelming, and there wasn't as much impact as you expected from him at that OE spot of the outside edge. He's got to take a big step forward, and if not, you got options like Logan Latui coming into his third year in the program, a former Weber State transfer. He once started, a couple games 2 years ago. Last year dealt primarily with injury, so you didn't see him really at all. He's going to be a factor at the 2 deep. Then you've got Sonny Tuwala, JUCO transfer. And, I think the interior of the defensive line should be pretty good with some pass rushing ability from the interior with John Nilsson and David Latu, Blake Mengelson, John Taumoipeu from Snow College, and then Luke Tuomalatai from Long Beach College. So BYU's got better options, but they got to really round out the depth. And that's going to be an area that I'm kind of keeping tabs on in fall camp, is that you feel like you kind of know the starting 3 or 4, whatever they throw out, but they need to kind of round out that depth and kind of get a clear picture of who the key guys are. Sione Buha feels pretty comfortable about, 3 or 4 of those guys coming out of spring. They need to, build up the numbers there at that D tackle spot. What's
a name of somebody, and we're going to do this over the next few weeks, so just keep getting used to this question. What's somebody who you would anticipate that the average fan wouldn't necessarily know right now, that you're going to hear their name a lot more in the next few weeks, and because they're one of those people that the coaches right out of the gates are really excited about? Who's that person going into camp that we don't necessarily have a lot of tape on as a BYU Cougar?
Logan Latui's one that I mentioned, the DN from Weber State. Mm-hmm. He's definitely one to monitor. I'd also say true freshman safety Tommy Parasis comes in from Basha High School in Arizona. Parasis was one of the standouts in spring ball, to the point where I thought he was a starter coming out of spring. I was really impressed with him. He's an impact guy. BYU's got veterans, Micah Harper and Talon Alfrey, returning, but I think ideally you want Micah Harper to anchor that Eddie Heckard nickel role that he handled last season, and Heckard was brilliant for BYU. Harper seems to be the best fit for that spot, and then you have Alfrey and maybe Tommy Parasis. You've got options at safety, but I really like Parasis, and I think he's got a little bit of an upper hand on Falatau Satuala simply because, he had spring ball, and he took a lot of first-team reps, and that was noteworthy. So I think he's a name to definitely monitor. I mentioned him earlier, Pokaiawa Honga at running back. I really liked him coming out of spring ball. Versatile athlete, good pass catcher out of the backfield. Kalani has thrived with running backs that can catch the ball out of the backfield. I think there could be a role for him depending on how this running back unit shakes out. And I think, kind of a deep cut. I'm really curious to see where he emerges on the cornerback battle is Maury Bamba. I think if you want to take a dart and throw it at the board and say who could be, a high upside NFL guy one day, to me it's him. Because he's a 6'3", long arms, kind of a freak athlete at the cornerback position, track and field background, only his 4th year of football. And, he started games last year, struggled, and mightily at times. But I think there's this feeling that they want him, the staff, want him to emerge and contend for that first-team role alongside Jacob Robinson. He's going to battle Mark Collins from Weber State, but he's someone I think I'm very curious to see, and he could be a sleeper. I've been high on him for quite some time because he's just got all the raw measurements to be an elite cornerback, but it's now you got to do it on the field, and this will be an opportunity for him and a window to really kind of put his name into the conversation and be someone that could be generating some buzz heading into the season.
Mitch Harper, BYU Insider, KSLSports.com. You can, of course, get all of the breakdowns as soon as they happen post-practice. The very first availability today for the media down in Provo. Mitch is, of course, going to be there, and we're going to get all those updates from him and Matt Baiamonte and everybody else from the KSL crew who's going to be down grabbing sound. And we're anticipating a highly publicized camp, and not the least of which is going to be that quarterback battle. Mitch, don't play banged up down there, man. You gotta stay healthy, too. We need you.
If it's the day one, it's going to be a busy year. This is the best time of the year. Looking forward to it. It's the grind starts now. I can't wait.
There you go. Mitch Harper, everybody. We'll take a break here. We'll come back. Mitch will keep us updated. By the way, if you want to get updated.
I had a question about the punter, but I'll save it for another time.
I can't tell if you're lying or not. Sorry. I had a long snapper question I wanted to get to.
Fans do care about it. It's important.
Well, because Ryan Rico's not there.
Yeah, that's a big question mark going into fall camp.
All We'll
get to it later.
We'll jump. We'll have a few days for that. Hey, Jeremy, just text Mitch. See what his thoughts are on the punter.
Tell him to share it on social.
Give me the full breakdown.
Live
do one of those,
right?
yeah. Do one of those like camera right in front of your faces updates. By the way, for people who are wondering,
Do an Instabook Live.
Instabook Live. The look at the punters are coming out there and they're like, hey, there's not just a quarterback battle down here at BYU. This is us punters are fighting it out too.
Got 3 Australians on campus.
Better watch
that are
out.
ready to go.
We'll take a break. Coming up right around the corner, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.